Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the FrostBytez Gaming Experience, part number 8 of the Pokemon Emerald walkthrough, where this entirety of this part is going to be done all within route number 110, because we got two different routes of which we got to take route number 110. If you see, as we are going through the grass area, you can see these little guys on bikes in the area above us. And we're actually going to take care of both routes, actually. We're going to go through Route 110 on the ground, and then we're going to go through Route 10 up in the bicycling area. And that's really all that's going to be going on in this part. So we had to go against the gym lead, our next gym leader, in the next part instead of this part, which I kind of figured ahead of time. I knew that it may be two parts until I went against the next gym leader, and it turns out, yep, that was exactly right. You know, I wanted to take care of all of Route 110. For two reasons. One is just so that I can, well, mostly three reasons actually. One, so I can just be completely done with route number 110, minus an item that I have to come back and get when I get Surf. And two, so I can get more levels on my only two Pokemon that I have for the time being, just to prep up for the next gym. And then the third reason is because I kind of need to backtrack anyways, because there was an item I did forget to pick up in Slateport City. That I need for the next city, and I cannot remember the name of the city off the top of my head. It's like Malville City, I believe is what it's called. I think I have that completely wrong. But anyways, you need an item from Slateport City and take it to somebody in Malville City, whatever the city is called, in order to get another particular item. But that's going to be for the next part, but I need to backtrack for it anyway. So I figured, hey, if I'm going to be backtracking anyways, I might as well finish out all of Route 110, get some extra levels on my Pokemon, and be even more prepared for the next gym. So there we go. But because of that, you know, not really exactly a whole lot of exploring going on here. You'll see the entirety of Route 10, including a number of hidden items that can be found without it. A couple of double battles. There is a lot of double trainer battles that we actually go through on Route number 110. And yeah, then you get to see what the bicycles are like when it comes to this game. Now, I know I said what the stats were of the Pokemon for Route 10 was already, but I figured I might as well go through and do it again, because I had to rush through it last time because we were coming up on the rival fight. And I should have just saved it for this part anyways, because this is where we're going all throughout route number 110. So here we are, stat-wise. In all three versions, you have yourself a 10% chance to run into an Oddish. Zigzagoon in the Ruby Sapphire version, 20% chance, whereas it's a 20% chance to catch a Poochyena in the Emerald version. All three versions, you have an 8% chance to catch a Wingull, 30% chance for an Electrike. You can get a Plusle, 2% chance in the Ruby and Emerald version with a 15% chance in the Sapphire version, and a Minun has a 15% chance in the Ruby and Emerald version with a 2% chance in the Sapphire version. And in all three versions, you have a 15% chance of getting yourself a Gulpin. Alright, surfing it gives you the same exact stats, and same with fishing. You know, the stats are exactly the same. You have a 60% chance for a Tentacool, 35% for a Wingull, and 5% for a Pelipper if you're surfing. Whereas if you are fishing, it's a 30% chance for a Tentacool, 70% chance for a Magikarp with the Old Rod, Good Rod, 60% Tentacool, 60% Magikarp, and 20% Wailmer. And then finally, 100% chance for a Super Rod Wailmer. And that's for all of route number 110. And again, when it comes to the fishing and the surfing, it's relatively the same just about everywhere, minus a couple little rivers here and there. But a good vast majority of it stay exactly the same. And unfortunately, that's really just about it when it comes to Route 10. Again, we will be backtracking, taking the biking route, but you can't catch different Pokemon taking the bike route because there's no wild Pokemon to encounter there. There's no grass, and they didn't drop like a random chance of another Pokemon that could pop up and take you on. Instead, it has its own little different goodies, but we'll go into that once we start hitting there, especially once we do get to our bicycle, so I can explain the differences between the two. But again, more hidden items, random Pokeball just laying out. I never really understood how hidden items work when it comes into Pokemon games. Like, what makes them so hidden to begin with? When you look at a rock or at a tree, I could assume, you know, in the tree is the item, or you move the rock and it's underneath the rock. You know, but even then you would need strength to move the rock technically. So what are you actually doing? Is it just inside the rock? You just take a hammer and beat the item out of it? I'm not exactly sure. But when it comes to being hidden just in the middle of the grass, what, do we have like a shovel and just dig it out and then patch it up within a matter of seconds? I don't know. I don't know exactly how hidden items work when it comes to the Pokemon world, other than just a game sense of, hey, they're just not there and you just got to be lucky to find them, I guess. We make a bit of a mistake, however, going against a Wailmer using our Sableye, because a Wailmer is actually a relatively beefy Pokemon in the HP department. And so, because it's only level 14, even though it's that, it still holds about a good 50 plus HP. So it takes me 3 Nightshades in order to take it out. When instead, I could have just used Astonish and either 1-hit KO'd it or 2-hit KO'd it. And it would have been a lot faster. In fact, I think I do that in this route where I decide, okay, I'm going to go with Astonish instead, because stupid me wasn't even thinking about it, where it's like, oh, hey, you know, why would I go my way and use an HP-based attack against a Pokemon that literally, I think in Gen 3, has one of the highest HP stats. In fact, I think Wailmer and then its evolution, I do not remember, was it Wailord, I think is what it's called. I think it actually has the highest HP of all of Gen 3, if I'm not mistaken. There might be a legendary that has more. In fact, the Regis probably do, either Registeel or Regice, but I think Registeel is more like physical defense bulky and not like HP bulk. So, you know, you have a tank instead of a staller or something like that. I don't know. But I do know that Wailmer and Wailord, if that's the evolution, I still don't remember. I think it does have one of the highest HP. So me utilizing Nightshade against it, not exactly the smartest thing that I could have done. I'm also getting completely poisoned, so it's just not a good day for our boy Sableye. Sableye got paralyzed and he got poisoned. At some point later, he gets confused. It's just not a good day to be in the life of Sableye. Get yourself a whole bunch of Nanab berries. I don't know exactly what it is that they do. A lot of these berries, I don't know what they do. I don't really care about what they do. And the ones I care about are ones that can get rid of my paralysis, my poison, my asleepness, all that stuff. Those are the only types that I really care about, because those are the only things that I'm going to be running into consistently when it comes to this game. Malville City. I do believe that is how you pronounce it. I could be completely wrong, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Come down to the south here, get yourself 1x speed, and then go up to the house north of here where you find the guy that will give you the HM move of Rock Smash. This is back when Rock Smash was still an HM move, and still kind of one of my most hated moves because it doesn't have good attack stats. You know, you kind of wish that all the HM moves were as strong as Surf is, but if they did give you HMs that early that were that strong, the game would just be completely broken, so they got to give you some of the weak ones, whatever. Find yourself coming up towards the gym, and we have our good old friend Wally here wanting to go take on the gym leader himself. And his uncle's kind of like, maybe you're going a little bit too far here. You haven't, I mean, for one thing, this is like technically the 3rd gym you go against, although if you do it by Pokemon Adventures standard, then depending on how many badges you have will determine the type of Pokemon that you go against in the gym. Something that I actually did not know for the longest time, until watching, what was it? There was, oh no, it was actually playing Black and White 2, where the first gym leader you go against, he states that, hey, this would have been easier if I got to use my original team and not this team. And I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. You know, you got to have your team based around who's challenging you. But then I'm like, wait, so then everyone has to come here first. Then you found out in Adventures, I believe, where they ask, you know, how many badges have you won? And then that'll determine, you know, the type of Pokemon and the level of Pokemon that they used against you. You know, and I think it was in the adventure manga. Maybe it was that weird Pokemon Origins anime that did that. I'm not exactly sure. But anyways, we gave Wally not only just a taste of Pokemon, but a taste of competitive Pokemon, because we could have beat him outright with just Astonished with the type weakness. But then I just figured, you know what, let's go ahead and use a Fake Out, make this very competitive, get that extra HP down, and then just really crush his dreams with it. But then this guy just decides to come up and he's like, oh, that's your friend, huh? Very interesting. Yes, indeed. I'm going to go follow him and convince him into having this nice little 3-way that we're going to be having. Seriously, what the fuck is this dude's problem? He needs to stop following me. So anyways, you talk to this gentleman over here. He talks about your running shoes, how you've gotten so far. And hey, he just decides, I'm going to give you a bike for free. Remember when these used to cost $1 million or $1 billion Poké Dollars? Yeah, this guy's just giving it away scot-free, just because why not? At least in Gen 2, there was a reasoning behind it. The guy moved and he wasn't getting as good of sales, and so he wanted to have us ride the bike to advertise, and his sales went up. This guy apparently is already doing quite well. Why is he giving us a free bike? Because he feels bad for us because we travel so much? I don't exactly know. But you have 2 different types of bikes that you can get. You can get the Acro bike and the Mach bike. Mach bike is more use, as he says, you can feel the wind flying through your hair as you utilize it. This is a very, very fast bike and relatively difficult to control if you're not used to it, which I never, ever get used to it. The acro bike is more of a slow bike, but it's one that you can do, acrobatic moves with. There are some areas where there's going to be like rocks and tree stumps that you can jump on, and the only way to cross it is by utilizing the acro bike and jumping along the logs, rocks, whatever it is that you're going across in order to reach those areas. We go with the mock bike first, because we kind of just want to go through this relatively quickly. We don't want the part to take too long. And also because, again, the acro bike, we don't really need to utilize it just yet, And you do have to come back to the city and trade it with the guy every single time that you want the different bike. You can't have both of them, and there's no fast way to switch between the two. You just have to go all the way back, switch it out, come back again, all of that. Makes it easier once you have a Pokemon that can learn Fly, but it's still rather annoying, but it is their way of making sure, hey, it's kind of like their way of saying, hey, we'll give you an interesting way to do these two separate things with these two different bikes, but the punishment for taking like the wrong one, I guess, is that you have to go back and trade it out. Why there has to be a punishment for it, I don't know. Maybe they could have done it both in the same bike. I guess they just kind of figured it'd make the gameplay a little bit more interesting, make it feel a little bit more open, and give you a reason to have to go back in order to get something. Not exactly sure. I'll leave that up to the game developers. I just think, hey, why can't I just have both right out of the gate? Why I'm not asking for much here. Just give me both the bikes. Just give me both the bikes. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. Anyways, so we're going to be running into something very interesting here. So we're on this little cycling road kind of thing, really. It's just the northern part, well, the upward part of Route 110, really. And you just go against a whole bunch of bikers that use nothing but electric-type Pokemon. What bikers have with electric-type Pokemon, I'm not exactly sure. Like, at all. What's the correlation between the two? What is it about riding a bike? Does it make you feel like you're energized? You feel electric whenever you ride your bike? I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Why do bikers have electric type of Pokemon? Up to about the, like, in most cases, the trainers you go against use Pokemon that make sense. You go against a bug catcher, they're going to use bug types. You go against a hiker, they're going to use rock and ground type. You go against a flamethrower, they're going to use fire types. You go against a guitarist, they use electric types. That makes even more sense because you're using an electric guitar. That makes way more sense. What do people that are on a bicycle have anything to do with electricity? Is it because if you were on a stationary bike, it requires electricity to fully work? Because even then, you don't need the electrical portions of it. Hell, there are some that don't even have any things that you set up for it. You just kind of go on and you're just on a bike without moving. Seriously, what's the correlation? Somebody let me know. I'm very curious. I am very curious what electric and biking have in common. Really am. Anyway, Sableye, he was paralyzed and he was poisoned. Now he's confused. He's just not having a good day. And I was getting a little bit worried for the guy because I thought he was just going to knock himself outright. And I'm one of those trainers where I'm like, hey, if you get confused and all you do is just smack yourself in the face constantly, you kind of deserve to faint at some point. Level 25, you can learn the move Detect. I decided not to learn it because Detect is more of a competitive style move. It's not exactly a move that's really good for just beating the game itself. You can stall your opponent from using one move on you, but it doesn't really matter because then the next turn they're just going to use the move anyways. Just because I know what move they're going to use doesn't really do much. The only thing that I could get out of it is you start with Sableye and then you use Fake Out to get that free damage on him. And then you use Detect to see what move they're going to use. And because it's the AI, chances are they're going to use that exact same move again. And you can switch out your Pokemon that has a certain type that can stop that. So if I'm going against electric type, if I throw out Sableye and I'm going against someone using an electric type, like say Magnemite for instance, and I use Fake Out, cool, then I use Detect, and he was going to use Thunder Shock. Well, then if I have a ground type, I can throw out the ground type for free. He'll use Thunder Shock and it doesn't do anything. And again, competitive wise, yeah, it makes sense. But when it comes to just the game itself, generally the best thing to do is, hey, do you have the super strong move that the enemy Pokemon's weak to? Why don't you just use that? Keeping Fake Out is one thing because, you can utilize it where it's like, oh, this is a really bad type matchup, but hey, I can get free damage. Fake Out is just basically, hey, I'm going to get free damage and take no damage back. That's what makes it such a good move. But then outside of that, if I'm going to run something like Detect, I might as well just do Fake Out with Sableye and then switch to, my ground Pokemon because chances are the AI is going to be using electric move anyways. Now with that said, here's where I'm very confused. Why is Voltorb level 6? And he's not the only one. Every Voltorb that we go against on this little bike route is level 6. Was that a glitch within the game? Because it's only here. We went against another Voltorb that was level, what, 14 or 16? I don't remember exactly what level it was. But when we're on this bike road here, every Magnemite we go against is level 14 or 16, and all of a sudden we have these level 6 Voltorbs. I think that the Voltorbs were actually originally supposed to be level 16, but something weird happened in the coding that caused them to lose 10 levels to be level 6 instead. Because there's absolutely no reason for why a Voltorb should be level 6 on this area. There's no reason whatsoever. You know, we're going against Magnemites level 14 and 16. Voltorb's not stronger than them. He should be level 16. It's really weird to me. Because again, I believe we went against a Voltorb on the lower ends of Route 110. I think it was level somewhere between 12 and 16, I want to say. So why are the ones above only level 16? Again, I feel like a coding thing happened there, where every Voltorb on the cycling road went from level 16 down to level 6. Really weird to me. You know, and just, I don't know. It was just so funny to me, because I'm going through it and I'm like, oh yeah, Voltorb level 6, it should be easy. Why is Voltorb level 6? And I was just like, thinking to myself, like, what is that a glitch? I don't know. And thing is, I actually meant to go on my way to look it up to see if it was a glitch, and I completely forgot to do that. So let's do that right now, because the rest of this is just going to be me going back to Slateport City and going into the Pokemart. And this guy telling me number of collisions, how long it took to get down here. We'll go over that more later. Emerald Voltorb level 6. I can't really find anything. Oh yeah, level 6 Voltorb. Oh, no, that's not. I don't know. I'll have to do more research into it. Again, it's probably just a weird little glitch or something. I'm not 100% sure. But hey, you know what? With that said, we're going to have to call it a part right there, ladies and gentlemen. So I do hope you enjoy the rest of your evenings. Catch you all in the next part.